Welcome to my online lecture. This is Zach Ford, or Mr. Ford. I'm going to be covering fractional coefficients today. What you guys need to know is that what you learn on Monday is actually a building block to what we're going to learn today. So let's quickly review what we learned on Monday. So what did we learn on Monday? We learned how to solve and graph inequalities, right? Solving and graphing inequalities. So let's quickly do an example. Pretty simple one. X is greater than 12. So what does that tell us? That tells us that all of these x values are greater than 12. Okay, let's look at it on a number line and graph it. We have 0. Let's go 12. Let's go negative 12. Okay, all values greater than 12. So we're going to highlight the right side, highlight the arrow, showing us that the values are greater than 12. Remember with me here, when there's an open circle, it means it does include or does not include the number. There's a filled in circle, it does include the number. Okay, let's do one step further here. Let's do another example problem. 4x minus 7 is greater than 17. Okay, Mr. Ford, I know how to do this. Okay, let's do it anyways. Let's first draw the river, as you guys know. Okay, opposite of negative 7 is plus 7. What we do to the left, we do to the right. Okay, let's draw a line just so we don't get confused. Drop down the 4x. Negative 7 plus 7 cancels. 17 plus 7 is 24. 4x is greater than 24. Next step, isolate the variable. Opposite operation. The opposite of multiply by 4 is divide by 4. Divide by 4, because what we do to the left, we do to the right. So then we have x is greater than 6. Again, let's graph it. Graph it. 0, 6, negative 6. It's greater than 6. It does not include 6 because it doesn't equal 6. And it's all values greater than that. Fill in the arrow. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. So one more thing that you guys learned on Monday that's important for what we're learning today. Okay? So that's negative coefficients whenever we're doing these. So let's do an example problem. Negative 6x minus 1 is smaller than or equal to 23. All right? Let's draw a river here. It's a big river there. Okay? Opposite of minus 1 is plus 1. Whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. Okay? Drop the 6x, or the negative 6x, I should say. Minus 1, positive 1, cancel out. 23 plus 1 is 24. Smaller than or equal to 24. Okay? What do we do now? Well, we're going to isolate the variable. We're going to do the opposite operation. So what's the opposite of multiply by negative 6? It's divide by negative 6. What do we do to the left? We do to the right. Divide by negative 6. So we have x is, remember, whenever you divide by negative, you flip the sign. Okay? X is greater than or equal to negative 4. So that is our answer. Remember, when we divide by the negative, we're going to flip the sign there. So then we can graph it. Let's graph it real quick. 0, 4, negative 4. X is equal to or greater than negative 4. So we do filled in circle. And it's greater than. Let's shade in that arrow. There we go. Boop. Okay. So that's basically what we learned there on Monday. So Tuesday is very similar. Okay. We are covering what's called fractional coefficients. Fractional coefficients. Let's draw a squiggly there. Okay. So what do we do here? Let's do an example problem. Okay? We're just going to learn by doing today. So write this out with me. 2/3 x minus 1 is greater than 13. Okay. Mr. Ford, hold up. There's a fraction in there. Okay, let's do it. I think you guys are perfectly capable of doing this. So logically, what are we going to do? First, we're going to draw a river here. Wow, look at that river. It's beautiful. Okay? We're going to add 1. Opposite of minus 1 is add 1. What we do to the left, we do to the right. Okay? Draw our line here. Drop the 2/3 x. -1, positive 1 cancel out. 13 plus 1 is 14. Okay? Got the x. 2/3 x is smaller than 14. So what do we do? Well, normally when this is a normal coefficient, we're going to divide by the coefficient here. Because remember, we're going to isolate the variable and do the opposite operation. So, I mean, Mr. Ford, what happens if we do that? So we're going to do 2/3 x divided by 2/3. Uh-oh, we are dividing by a fraction. That is a huge no-go, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to do what's called multiply by the reciprocal. So let's do a little side note over here. Side note's just a little bit of information that we need to answer the problem. So what is a reciprocal? So let's do this. If we have the number 2/3, basically just going to flip it. Just going to flip it, right? So that's pretty easy. So let's write this out so we can come back to it. Reciprocal. Okay? I think that's spelled right. Side note, reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So what are we going to do? We're going to multiply this by its reciprocal. 3/2 times 2/3. What we do to the left, we do to the right. Multiply 14 by 3/2 here. The whole goal of doing this is that we want to get x by itself. That's to isolate the variable part. So when we look here, we can see that the 3's are going to cancel. 2's are going to cancel, leaving us just x. X is smaller than, let's write it a little bit differently, 14 over 1 times 3 over 2. Okay? Let's make a life a little bit more simple on ourselves. Let's cancel out the 14 and the 2 to give us 7. 14 divided by 2 is 7, okay? So what does that leave us here? X is smaller than, can we just do this? 7 times 3? Because 7 over 1 times 3 over 1 is the same thing as 7 times 3. Okay? So that leaves us with x is smaller than 21. And you guys should know how to do this, but let's just do it anyways, just for good time's sake here. Draw our number line. 0, 21, minus 21. It's smaller than 21. Does not equal 21, so it's the open circle. Remember that. We're going to shade to the left here. Oh, that's some hardcore shading, but we're going to do it anyways. Shade in the arrow. X is smaller than 21. Okay? So that's it for that one right there. So that's called fractional coefficients. Remember, when we see this, we do not panic. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, the reciprocal is when we flip the number. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Okay? So let's do another example problem. This one's going to have a slight twist to it, but I think we can still handle it. Example problem. Okay? -1/2 x plus 20 is smaller than 4. Okay, what do? We got this. Let's tighten our seatbelts here. Let's do this thing. We're going to draw the river. Boom. There's our river. The opposite of plus 20 is minus 20. What we do to the left, we do to the right. So we have, let's draw this line here. We're going to drop that. -1/2 x. 20 minus 20, those cancel out. Again, we have less than 4 minus 20 is -16. Okay? Remember, we don't panic when we see this fraction here. We do not panic. It's okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of -1/2? -1/2. It's just -2/1, right? Because we just flip this whole thing around. Okay? -2/1. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by -2/1. Again, the goal is to make that by itself. Remember, isolate the variable. Okay? So what we do to the left, we're going to do to the right. Negative 2 over 1. So we're going to cancel, 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 cancel. Big old cancel party, leaving us just x. Remember from yesterday, okay? When you multiply or divide by a negative number, because remember, multiply by negative 2 over 1, we're going to flip that sign. Flip that sign, okay? Right? So we have negative 16 over 1 times negative 2 over 1. Negative 16 times negative 2 is just positive 32. X is greater than 32, right? Should make sense. If not, the next video is going to have a little bit more example problems for you with fractional coefficients. Just remember, we don't freak out when we see this. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, the reciprocal is just flipping the number here, and then graphing is the same as we've done. So if we were to graph this, we would just draw the number line, right, and then make all of our things here. 32 minus 32. We'd draw this here, and it'd be bigger then. So that's how we would graph it, but for time's sake, we won't. That's the end of this video. Hope you found it beneficial. Like I said, in the next video, we'll do some more example problems.